I want to speak with you about words. Not just any words, but the kind of speech that moves mountains, that heals the broken-hearted, that transforms the very fabric of reality around you. For in the beginning, as it is written, was the Word, and that Word was not merely sound vibrating through air, but the very force of creation itself. You see, my dear ones, most people believe that speech is simply the sharing of information, the transfer of thoughts from one mind to another. But I tell you a deeper truth. Your words are the architects of your reality. They are the seeds from which your future grows, the foundation upon which your relationships are built, and the key that either opens or locks the door to your highest potential. Today, I want to reveal to you the hidden psychology behind truly powerful speech, not the manipulation that seeks to control others, not the eloquence that impresses but leaves hearts unchanged, but the kind of communication that springs from the depths of truth and love, the kind that I used when I walked among you in flesh, when I spoke to the masses on the mountainside, when I calmed the storms with a word, when I brought comfort to the grieving and hope to the hopeless. I was not using mere techniques or psychological tricks. I was drawing from principles that are woven into the very fabric of human consciousness, principles that you too can learn and embody, for you have been given the same divine spark that I carried. You have within you the same capacity for words that heal, words that inspire, words that create rather than destroy. But first you must understand what makes speech truly powerful, what transforms ordinary conversation into something that touches the eternal within every soul you encounter. Most of you have been taught to speak from your surface thoughts, to fill silence with noise, to use words as weapons in your battles or as shields to protect your vulnerabilities. But powerful speech comes from a different place entirely. It comes from the stillness within you, from the place where you are connected to all things, from the well of love that never runs dry. Listen carefully now, for what I am about to share with you will change not only how you speak, but how you think, how you relate to others, and how you move through this world. These are not merely communication skills. They are spiritual principles that, when understood and applied, will transform you into a vessel through which divine truth can flow. Are you ready to learn the hidden psychology of powerful speech? Are you willing to let go of the old patterns of communication that have kept you trapped in cycles of misunderstanding, conflict, and missed connections? Are you prepared to discover that your voice, yes, your voice, can be an instrument of healing and transformation in this world? Then breathe deeply, open your heart, and let us begin this sacred journey together. The first secret of powerful speech, my beloved, is this: true power comes not from what you say, but from where you speak, from within yourself. I remember a moment when I was teaching in the temple courts. The religious leaders, seeking to trap me with clever words, brought before me a woman caught in adultery. The law demanded her death by stoning, and they asked me what should be done. The crowd pressed in, hungry for spectacle, expecting either condemnation or controversy. But I did not speak immediately. Instead, I knelt down and began writing in the dust. In that moment of silence, I was not preparing clever arguments or calculating the political implications of my response. I was descending into the place of perfect love, the place where judgment dissolves and compassion reigns. When I finally spoke, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone," those words carried such power that one by one, from the oldest to the youngest, they all walked away. But understand this: The power was not in the cleverness of the phrase, but in the consciousness from which it emerged. This is what I call speaking from presence. Most people speak from their reactions, their fears, their need to be right or to be liked. Their words carry the energy of anxiety, manipulation, or defense. But when you speak from presence, from that still, centered place within you where love resides, your words carry an entirely different frequency. Presence is not something you can fake or manufacture through technique. It is a state of being that you must cultivate through daily practice, through moments of quiet communion with the divine within you. When you speak from presence, several profound things happen. First, your words carry authenticity. People can sense, often without conscious awareness, when someone is speaking from their truth versus when they are performing or manipulating. The human heart has an innate detector for genuineness, and when that authenticity is sensed, walls come down and real communication becomes possible. Second, your speech becomes economical. When you are centered in presence, you no longer feel the need to fill every silence, to over-explain, or to use 10 words when 3 will do. You understand that silence itself is sacred, that the spaces between words are as important as the words themselves. This restraint gives your words greater impact. Third, you naturally speak at the appropriate level for your listener. Presence attunes you to the consciousness of those before you. You instinctively know whether to speak simply or deeply, whether to offer comfort or challenge, whether to remain silent and simply hold space for another's pain. But how do you cultivate this presence? How do you learn to speak from this centered place, rather than from the surface chatter of your anxious mind? The practice begins with learning to be comfortable in silence. Most people fear silence because it confronts them with themselves, with the internal noise they usually project outward. But silence is where presence lives. Spend time each day in quiet contemplation, not trying to achieve anything or solve anything, but simply resting in the awareness of your own being. Learn to pause before you speak, especially in emotionally charged situations. In that pause, ask yourself, where am I speaking from right now? Am I reacting from fear or responding from love? This simple practice will transform your relationships more than any communication technique ever could. Practice listening, truly listening, not just to the words others speak, but to the energy beneath their words, to what their souls are really trying to communicate. When people feel truly heard, they naturally open to whatever wisdom you might offer. Deva. Remember, my dear one, that you are not trying to become impressive with your speech. You are not seeking to dominate conversations or to prove your worth through cleverness. You are learning to become a clear channel through which truth and love can flow. And when you speak from this place of presence, your words will carry a power that transcends technique, a power that touches the divine spark within everyone who hears you. Lift up your heart to the divinity. Everything is divine, and the information that passes through your life can have the power to take you to higher and clearer things. That everything is divine. And the information that passes through your life can have the power to... This is the foundation of all powerful speech. Not speaking to impress, but speaking to bless. Not speaking to control, but speaking to serve. Not speaking from your ego's agenda, but speaking from the love that you truly are. Now let me share with you the second secret of powerful speech, the profound psychology behind speaking in stories and parables. When I walked among you, I rarely spoke in abstract concepts or philosophical treatises. Instead, I painted pictures with words, telling simple stories that carried layers of meaning, stories that could be understood by a child, yet pondered by the wisest scholar. Why did I choose this method? Because the human mind is not primarily logical. It is narrative. Your consciousness is structured around stories. You understand yourselves through the stories you tell about your past. You navigate the present through the stories you believe about reality. And you create your future through the stories you hold about what is possible. When you speak in stories, you bypass the analytical mind that often resists direct instruction and speak directly to the heart where true transformation occurs. Let me illustrate this with one of the parables I shared, the story of the sower and the seeds. I could have simply stated, people receive spiritual truth differently based on the condition of their hearts. That would have been accurate, but forgettable. Instead, I told of a farmer scattering seed on different types of ground, some falling on the hard-packed path where birds quickly devoured it, some on rocky soil where it sprouted quickly but withered in the heat, some among thorns that choked out its growth, and some on good soil where it produced an abundant harvest. This simple story accomplished several profound psychological functions simultaneously. First, it created mental images that people could easily remember and return to. The human memory is far better at storing pictures than abstract concepts. When my listeners encountered hard-hearted people, they remembered the path. When they saw spiritual enthusiasm quickly fade, they thought of the rocky ground. The story became a lens through which they could understand their world. Second, it allowed for multiple levels of meaning without overwhelming the listener. A farmer could appreciate the agricultural wisdom, while a spiritual seeker could contemplate the deeper meaning about receptivity to divine truth. The story met people wherever they were in their development. Third, it engaged the imagination, which is the bridge between the conscious and unconscious mind. When you engage someone's imagination through story, you plant seeds in the deeper levels of their consciousness, where real change occurs. The analytical mind might reject a direct teaching, but it rarely argues with a good story. But here is what most people miss about the power of parable. The stories I told were not mere illustrations of abstract principles. They were themselves teachings that created the reality they described. When I spoke of seeds and soil, I was actually planting seeds in the soil of human consciousness. The parable was both the message and the method. This is the hidden psychology of storytelling. Every story you tell shapes reality. When you tell stories of limitation, struggle, and defeat, you strengthen those realities in your life and in the lives of those who hear you. When you tell stories of possibility, grace, and transformation, you create space for those realities to emerge. Think about the stories you tell most often. Do you tell stories that cast you as the victim of circumstances beyond your control? Do you tell stories that emphasize how difficult, dangerous, or disappointing the world is? Or you tell stories that reveal the hidden grace operating in all situations? Stories that acknowledge challenges while pointing toward growth and possibility. The people who were drawn to me were often those who felt trapped in old stories. Stories of unworthiness, of limitation, of separation from divine love. Through the new stories I told, I offered them new ways of understanding themselves and their place in the cosmic narrative. Consider the story I told of the prodigal son. On the surface, it was a simple tale of a wayward child who squandered his inheritance and returned home to find forgiveness. But the deeper story was about the nature of divine love. Unconditional, celebratory, always ready to welcome us home no matter how far we have wandered. That story has changed millions of lives because it offered a new narrative about the relationship between the human soul and its source. When you learn to speak in stories, you tap into this same transformative power. You help people reframe their experiences, see new possibilities, and connect with deeper truths that mere logic cannot reach. But remember, the stories must come from authenticity, not manipulation. They must spring from genuine wisdom and compassion, not from a desire to control or impress. Practice observing the world around you with the eyes of a storyteller. Notice the parables hidden in everyday events, the way a garden grows, the behavior of children at play, the patterns of weather, the interactions between people. Life itself is constantly offering you metaphors for deeper truths. When someone comes to you with a problem, rather than offering advice directly, consider sharing a story that illuminates the situation from a new angle. When you want to teach a principle, wrap it in a narrative that makes it memorable and meaningful. When you need to challenge someone's limiting beliefs, offer them a new story about what might be possible. But most importantly, become conscious of the story you are telling with your life. For your life itself is a parable, a teaching story that impacts everyone who witnesses it. What story is your life telling? What message is your existence conveying to the world? Make sure it is a story worthy of the divine spark within you, a story that points others toward their own highest potential. Listen closely now, my beloved, for I want to share with you perhaps the most crucial element of powerful speech, the hidden force of intention that lies beneath every word you speak. Most people are unconscious of the intentions that drive their communication. They speak automatically, reactively, without awareness of the deeper purposes their words are meant to serve. But every word you utter carries intention, whether conscious or unconscious, and that intention shapes both the content and the impact of your message. When I spoke to the paralyzed man lowered through the roof by his friends, I could have simply said, "Stand up and walk." The healing power was certainly present to restore his physical mobility, but instead, I first said, "Your sins are forgiven." Why? Because my intention was not merely to heal his body, but to address the deeper paralysis of his spirit, the sense of unworthiness and separation that was the root of his suffering. This is what I mean by speaking with intention. Every word is chosen, not just for its surface meaning, but for its deeper purpose, in service of the highest good of those who hear it. There are many different intentions that can drive human speech, and understanding these will revolutionize how you communicate. Some people speak from the intention to be seen and admired. Their words are chosen to impress, to demonstrate their knowledge or wit or superiority. This intention creates a subtle barrier between speaker and listener because the focus is on the ego of the speaker rather than the needs of the listener. Others speak from the intention to control or manipulate. They use words as tools to get what they want, to bend others to their will, to create specific outcomes that serve their personal agenda. Such speech may be effective in the short term, but it ultimately breeds distrust and resistance. Still others speak from the intention to defend themselves or attack others. Their words are weapons in the battles they believe they must fight to survive and succeed. This creates cycles of conflict and separation that push people further apart. But there is a higher intention from which you can speak, an intention that transforms not only your words, but your entire presence in the world. The intention to serve love. When you speak with the intention to serve love, several miraculous things occur. Your words naturally become more compassionate and wise. When your deepest intention is to serve the highest good of all involved, wisdom flows through you that surpasses your ordinary thinking. You find yourself saying exactly what needs to be said, in exactly the way it needs to be heard. Your speech becomes healing rather than harmful. Words spoken with the intention to serve love carry a healing frequency. Even difficult truths, when spoken from love, can be received and integrated in ways that promote growth rather than defensiveness. Your relationships deepen and strengthen. When people sense that you are speaking to serve their highest good rather than your own agenda, they naturally open to you. Trust develops. Intimacy becomes possible, and real communication can occur. You become a channel for divine wisdom. When your personal ego steps aside and your intention becomes purely to serve love, you often find words flowing through you that surprise even yourself with their appropriateness and power. But how do you cultivate this intention to serve love in your speech? Begin by pausing before important conversations to set your intention consciously. Ask yourself, what is my deepest purpose in this communication? What would love have me say? How can my words serve the highest good of all involved? Practice speaking the truth with compassion. Truth without love can be harsh and destructive. Love without truth can be enabling and weak. But when truth and love are married in your speech, your words become instruments of divine healing. Learn to listen for what is not being said. Often, the most important communication happens beneath the surface of words. When your intention is to serve love, you become attuned to the deeper needs, fears, and longings that people carry. Your words can then address these deeper levels. Release your attachment to specific outcomes. When you speak with agenda, trying to convince, control, or manipulate, your words carry the energy of attachment, which creates resistance. When you speak simply to serve love, without attachment to how your words are received, they carry a freedom that allows others to receive them more openly. Remember that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is remain silent. Not every thought needs to be expressed. Not every truth needs to be spoken at every moment. Wisdom knows when to speak and when to hold silence. I want you to understand that this intention to serve love is not about being nice or avoiding difficult conversations. Sometimes love requires firm boundaries. Sometimes love demands that challenging truths be spoken. Sometimes love means saying no to requests that would not serve someone's highest good. The key is that your motivation comes not from anger, fear, or personal agenda, but from a genuine desire to serve the well-being and growth of all involved. When this becomes your consistent intention, your words will carry a power that transcends personality, a power that can literally transform the atmosphere of any room you enter. Practice this with small interactions first. When the cashier at the store seems tired, let your words carry an intention of blessing and encouragement. When your family member shares a struggle, speak with the intention to offer genuine support and wisdom. When you encounter conflict, respond with the intention to create understanding rather than to win the battle. As this intention becomes more natural, you will discover that you have become a healing presence in the world. Your words will be sought after, not because of their cleverness, but because of their power to bring peace, clarity, and hope to every situation they touch. My dear friends, I want to take you even deeper now into the mysteries of powerful speech. Beyond the words themselves, beyond the stories you tell and the intentions you hold, there is something even more fundamental that determines the impact of your communication, the energy from which you speak. You have all experienced this, though you may not have understood what was happening. You have encountered people whose words were technically correct, perhaps even wise, but something about their delivery left you feeling cold or resistant. You have also met others whose words were simple, maybe even awkward, but whose speech touched your heart and lingered in your memory long after the conversation ended. The difference was not in the content of their words, but in the energy from which they spoke. When I stood before Pontius Pilate, facing the power of the Roman Empire, he asked me if I was a king. I could have answered with logical arguments, with political diplomacy, with clever deflection. Instead, I spoke from the deepest truth of my being. My kingdom is not of this world. Those words carried such power that even now, 2,000 years later, they continue to resonate in human consciousness. The power came not from rhetoric, but from the complete alignment between what I said and what I was. There was no gap between my words and my being, no contradiction between my message and my essence. This is what creates the energy that makes speech truly powerful: absolute authenticity. Most people live with a split between their surface personality and their deeper truth. They speak from learned patterns, from social conditioning, from what they think others want to hear or what will make them appear intelligent or acceptable. This creates a subtle dissonance that listeners pick up on, even unconsciously. But when you speak from your authentic essence, from the place of truth that lives beneath all your social masks and learned behaviors, your words carry an energy that is unmistakable. They resonate in the hearts of others because they are coming from a real place, from the same source of truth that exists within every human being. Let me share with you the different levels of energy from which people commonly speak, so you can recognize them in yourself and choose more consciously. The lowest energy level is speaking from fear. This includes speech motivated by the need to defend, to avoid conflict, to please others at the expense of truth, or to maintain false personas. Words spoken from fear carry the energy of contraction and create distance between people, even when the content seems friendly or agreeable. The next level is speaking from desire, the need to get something, to impress others, to be seen as important or clever or right. This energy is grasping and creates a subtle sense of manipulation in listeners, even when the speaker's desires are relatively harmless. Higher still is speaking from duty or obligation, saying what you think you should say based on your roles or responsibilities. This energy is dutiful but lacks life and inspiration. It fulfills social functions but doesn't touch the deeper places in human hearts. But there is a much higher level available to you. Speaking from love. Not emotional love, not sentimental attachment, but the love that is your deepest nature, the love that connects you to all life, the love that is the very fabric of existence itself. When you speak from this love, several profound shifts occur. Your words naturally become more inclusive rather than divisive. Love sees the unity beneath apparent differences and speaks in ways that build bridges rather than walls. Your speech becomes fearless but never aggressive. Love has nothing to protect and nothing to prove, so it can speak truth without the edge of defensiveness or attack. Your words carry a healing frequency that affects people at levels they may not even be conscious of. Love is the fundamental healing force in the universe, and when your speech is aligned with love, It naturally promotes wholeness and well-being in others. Your communication becomes effortless and natural. Instead of struggling to find the right words or worrying about how you are being perceived, you simply allow truth and compassion to flow through you. To him, but how do you access this love as the source of your speech? How do you learn to speak from your heart rather than from your fears, desires, or social conditioning? The first step is to develop a relationship with the silence within you. In the quiet depths of your being, beneath all the mental chatter and emotional reactivity, there is a place of perfect peace and love. Spend time there regularly. Learn to rest in that stillness. Let it become familiar to you. From that place of inner quiet, practice feeling your genuine care for others. Not the care that comes from obligation or the need to be liked, but the natural love that arises when you truly see another person as a fellow soul on the journey of life. Before speaking in important situations, take a moment to connect with your heart. Feel the love that lives there. Let that love inform not just your words, but your tone, your body language, your entire presence. Practice speaking your truth with kindness. Many people believe they must choose between being authentic and being loving, but this is a false choice. When you speak from the love that is your deepest nature, you can express even difficult truths with a gentleness that allows them to be heard and received. Learn to trust that love knows what to say. When you are connected to your heart, you don't need to plan and script your words so carefully. Love is intelligent. It knows what each person needs to hear, and it will speak through you if you allow it. Remember, speaking from love does not mean being permissive or avoiding necessary boundaries. Sometimes love says no. Sometimes love delivers challenging truths. Sometimes love remains silent rather than enabling someone's destructive patterns. The key is that the energy beneath your words comes from genuine care for the highest good of all involved. When you master this art of speaking from your heart, your words will become a gift to the world. People will be drawn to you not because you are perfect, but because you are real. They will trust you not because you never make mistakes, but because they sense the genuine love that motivates your communication. This is the secret that can transform your relationships, your work, your entire experience of life, learning to let love speak through you. Now, my beloved, I must share with you what may be the most surprising secret of powerful speech. It begins not with speaking, but with listening. True listening, the kind that transforms both the speaker and the listener, is one of the highest forms of love you can offer another human being. Let us hear Amare. God's word is a higher. Religion gives honor. When people came to me with their burdens, their questions, their desperation, I did not immediately offer solutions or teachings. First, I listened, not just to their words, but to their hearts. I heard what they were really asking for beneath their surface requests. I felt the pain they carried, the hope they harbored, the fears that drove their questions. This quality of listening is what made my responses so powerful. They were not generic teachings or one-size-fits-all answers. They were words that arose from a deep understanding of exactly what each person needed to hear in that moment. Most people have never been truly listened to. They have been heard, perhaps, or responded to, but rarely has another human being offered them the gift of complete, loving attention. When you learn to listen in this way, you create a sacred space in which people can discover their own truth, their own wisdom, their own connection to the divine. But what does it mean to truly listen? Let me reveal to you the different levels of listening that are possible. The most common level is listening to respond. This is where most people operate. They listen just enough to formulate their own reply, to find the opening where they can share their opinion or advice or story. This is not really listening at all. It is simply waiting to speak. A deeper level is listening to understand. Here, you are genuinely trying to comprehend what the other person is saying, to see their perspective, to grasp their meaning. This is better, but it is still primarily mental activity. Deeper still is listening to the person behind the words. At this level, you are not just hearing content, but sensing the emotions, needs, fears, and longings that are driving what someone is saying. You are listening for who they are, not just what they are telling you. But the deepest level, and this is the level from which truly powerful speech emerges, is listening to the divine in the other person. It is listening not just to their personality or their problems, but to the eternal soul that is speaking through them. It is recognizing that every human being carries within them a spark of the same divine light that you carry. When you listen from this level, something miraculous occurs. People sense that they are being seen and heard not just as their surface self, but as the magnificent being they truly are. In this recognition, they naturally begin to access their own wisdom, their own strength, their own connection to truth. This is why my responses were so often questions rather than answers. When someone asked me who was the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, I did not lecture them about humility. Instead, I placed a little child among them and asked them to consider what they saw. The question arose from my deep listening to what they were really asking, and it invited them into their own discovery, rather than feeding them my conclusions. True listening is not passive. It is one of the most active, engaged, loving things you can do. It requires you to set aside your own agenda, your need to be heard, your desire to fix or impress or control. It asks you to become completely present to another's experience. When you listen in this way, you begin to hear not just what people are saying, but what they need. You hear not just their complaints, but their requests for love. You hear not just their anger, but their hurt. You hear not just their confusion, but their readiness for clarity. And from this quality of listening, your responses naturally become more powerful because they are addressing what is really needed rather than just what is being asked for. Let me teach you how to cultivate this transformative quality of listening. First, practice being fully present. When someone is speaking to you, resist the urge to multitask, to plan your response, or to relate their experience to your own. Simply be there, completely available to what they are sharing. Listen with your whole being, not just your ears. Notice their body language, their tone of voice, the energy they carry. Often the most important communication is happening at these non-verbal levels. Listen for the feelings beneath the words. Ask yourself, what is this person really feeling right now? What do they most need to know they are not alone with? Listen for the question beneath the question. Often, what people ask is not what they most need to know. Listen for the deeper inquiry that their surface question is pointing toward. Resist the urge to immediately offer solutions or advice. Most people do not need you to fix their problems. They need to be heard and understood. Your loving attention often creates the space in which they can find their own answers. Practice listening to the divine in others. Look for the soul that is speaking through their personality. See the light that exists beneath their pain, confusion, or anger. This quality of seeing will naturally infuse your responses with a reverence and love that people can feel. When you do speak, let your words arise from what you have heard. Ask yourself, based on what I have truly heard, not just the surface content, but the deeper needs and longings, what wants to be said here? What words would serve this person's highest good? Sometimes the most powerful response is simply to reflect back what you have heard. It sounds like you are feeling, or what I hear you saying is. This kind of reflection helps people feel seen and understood, and often leads them to deeper insights about their own experience. Remember that listening is itself a form of healing. When people feel truly heard, something in them relaxes, opens, becomes available to new possibilities. Your quality attention is a gift of love that can transform someone's entire day, or even their entire relationship with themselves. This practice of deep listening will not only make your speaking more powerful, it will make you a more loving, wise, and effective human being in all your relationships. You will become someone that people seek out, not because you have all the answers, but because you know how to create the sacred space in which answers can emerge. My beloved friends, as our time together draws toward its close, I want to leave you with the ultimate secret of powerful speech, the understanding that will transform not only how you communicate, but who you are in the world. You are not the source of powerful speech, you are the vessel through which it flows. This may sound paradoxical after everything I have shared with you about intention, energy, presence, and listening. You might wonder, if I am not the source, then why does all this inner work matter? Why cultivate these qualities if the power comes from beyond me? The answer is this. The divine light wants to shine through you, but it can only do so to the degree that you are transparent. All the work we have discussed, developing presence, speaking from love, listening deeply, aligning your intentions with service, all of this is about removing the obstacles that block the flow of divine wisdom through your words. Think of yourself as a window. A dirty, cracked, or clouded window blocks the light that wants to shine through it, but a clean, clear window allows the light to pass through so purely that people see not the window, but the light itself. When I spoke to the crowds, when I offered teachings that have endured for centuries, when my words brought healing and transformation, I was not speaking from my personal knowledge or human cleverness. I was speaking from the source that lives within all of us, the eternal wisdom that is available to anyone who learns to become transparent to it. This is why my words often surprised even me. They flowed from a place deeper than my human personality, from the wellspring of divine love and truth that is the real source of all powerful communication. And this same source is available to you. Right now, in this very moment, there is a wellspring of wisdom within you that knows exactly what every person in your life needs to hear. There is a love within you that can speak through any situation with perfect appropriateness. There is a truth within you that can cut through confusion and bring clarity to any problem. But to access this inner source, you must learn to get your personal ego out of the way. You must release the need to sound impressive, to be right, to control outcomes, to protect your image. You must become willing to be used by love itself as an instrument of healing in the world. This is what I mean by becoming a vessel for divine communication. It is not about losing your personality or becoming a passive channel. Rather, it is about aligning your personality so completely with divine will that there is no conflict between what you want to say and what wants to be said through you. When this alignment occurs, several beautiful things happen. Your words become more spontaneous, yet more appropriate. You find yourself saying exactly what needs to be said without having to plan or script your responses. Your communication becomes effortless. Instead of struggling to find the right words, they flow naturally from the wisdom within you. Your speech carries an authority that comes not from your personal credentials, but from your alignment with truth itself. People are drawn to your words not because of your charisma, but because they recognize the authenticity and love from which you speak. Your relationships become more harmonious because you are no longer speaking from ego-driven agendas, but from a genuine desire to serve the highest good of all. But how do you cultivate this transparency? How do you learn to become a clear vessel for divine communication? The foundation is humility. The recognition that the wisest thing you can say in any situation is not likely to come from your limited personal knowledge, but from the unlimited wisdom that is available when you open to it. Practice surrendering your need to have all the answers. Instead of approaching conversations with a predetermined agenda, learn to enter them with an openness to discover what wants to emerge through your interaction. Develop a daily practice of connecting with the divine source within you, whether through prayer, meditation, contemplation, or simply quiet time in nature. Regular communion with this inner wellspring is essential for keeping the channel clear. Before important conversations, take a moment to ask, what wants to be said here? How can I best serve the highest good of all involved? Then, trust what arises, even if it is not what your logical mind had planned. Practice speaking from inspiration rather than information. When you feel moved to share something, notice whether it is coming from your head or from a deeper place. Learn to recognize the difference and choose to speak from the deeper well. Be willing to remain silent when nothing authentic wants to be expressed. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply hold loving space for whatever is unfolding, without feeling the need to add words. Release attachment to how your words are received. When you are truly serving as a vessel for divine communication, the effectiveness of your words is not your responsibility. Your only job is to speak what wants to be spoken with as much clarity and love as possible. Remember that every conversation is an opportunity to practice this sacred art. Whether you are talking with your family over dinner, having a difficult discussion with a colleague, or comforting someone in pain, you can approach each interaction as a chance to let divine love and wisdom flow through your words. As you develop this capacity to serve as a vessel for divine communication, you will discover that you have become not just a more powerful speaker, but a more loving, wise, and effective human being. Your presence in the world will become a blessing. Your words will be remembered not because of their cleverness, but because of their power to awaken the truth that lives within everyone who hears them. Everyone who hears them. This is my final gift to you, the recognition that you already have within you everything you need to speak with divine power. You do not need to become someone else or acquire special abilities. You need only to remove the obstacles that prevent your true nature from shining through your words. The world is waiting for your authentic voice. It is waiting for the love that wants to speak through you. It is waiting for the wisdom that lives within you to find expression through your words. You see, my beloved, in every age there are those who are called to be voices of truth, hope, and healing. In your time, with all its noise and confusion, with all its division and pain, the world desperately needs people who know how to speak from the depths of love. The world needs people who can cut through the superficial chatter and touch the eternal truths that unite all hearts. This calling is not reserved for the famous or the formally educated. It is not limited to those who stand in pulpits or speak from stages. Every parent who speaks words of encouragement to their child, every friend who offers comfort in times of sorrow, every person who chooses to speak truth instead of participating in gossip or negativity, all of these are serving as vessels for divine communication. Your kitchen table can become a sanctuary where healing words are spoken. Your workplace can become a temple where truth and kindness prevail. Your community can be transformed through the power of your authentic, loving speech. But remember, this is not about perfection. Even I, when I walked in human form, sometimes felt the weight of finding the right words. The key is not to never struggle with communication, but to continually return to the source, to keep aligning yourself with love, to keep choosing service over self-interest in your speech. There will be times when you speak from ego instead of love, when you react instead of respond, when you miss opportunities to offer the healing words that were needed. This is part of the human journey. The invitation is not to judge yourself, but to learn, to return to center, and to begin again with the next conversation. Each day offers you countless opportunities to practice this sacred art. Each person you encounter is waiting, perhaps unconsciously, for someone to speak to the truth of who they really are beneath their surface struggles and defenses. Each challenging situation in your life is an invitation to discover what wisdom wants to emerge through your response. Start where you are, with the conversations that are already part of your life. Bring more presence to your words. Listen more deeply to others. Speak more often from love than from fear. Notice the effect this has, not only on others, but on yourself. As you practice these principles, you will find that your words begin to carry a different quality. People will start to listen to you more carefully. They will seek out your perspective. They will remember what you say long after the conversation has ended. This is not because you have become more impressive, but because you have become more transparent to the divine love that people are always hungry to hear expressed. And here is the beautiful mystery. As you learn to speak more powerfully, you will find that you need to speak less. When your words carry the energy of presence, love, and truth, fewer words are needed to accomplish more. A single sentence spoken from deep authenticity can be more transformative than hours of empty chatter. The silence between your words will become as important as the words themselves. People will feel blessed not just by what you say, but by the quality of attention and love you bring to every interaction. This is the path I am inviting you to walk, the path of becoming a conscious communicator, a loving presence, a clear vessel through which divine truth can touch the world. It is not an easy path, because it requires you to continually choose love over fear, service over self-interest, authenticity over image management. But it is the most rewarding path you can walk, because it allows you to fulfill your deepest purpose as a human being, to be a healing presence in the world, to speak words that matter, to touch lives in ways that echo through eternity. The power is already within you. The love is already there. The wisdom is already available. You need only to say yes to serving as its expression in the world. Go thou, my beloved friend, and speak with the power that moves mountains and heals hearts. Speak with the authority of love itself. Speak, knowing that every word you utter with genuine care and truth is a gift to the world. The world is listening. The world is waiting. The world is ready for the unique expression of divine love that can only come through you. Let your words be light in the darkness, hope in despair, love in the face of fear. Let your speech be a blessing that follows you wherever you go, touching every life you encounter with the grace and truth that are your birthright. This is your calling. This is your gift. This is the hidden psychology of truly powerful speech, not technique, but transparency, not manipulation, but love, not self-promotion, but service. Speak, my beloved. The divine within you has something beautiful to say to the divine within every person you meet. Trust it. Trust yourself. Trust the love that wants to flow through your words into a world that needs your unique voice now more than ever. And remember, I am with you always, in every word spoken from love, in every silence held with presence, in every moment when you choose to serve as a vessel for divine communication. Go in peace, go in power, go in love.